I've learned a lot of free lessons in business, but I've also learned many lessons that have been really expensive, both financially and mentally and emotionally. So I want to save you some precious time and money today. So I want to share with you some of the most expensive lessons that I've learned in my business, and some of these may surprise you. The first one I want to talk about is business growth versus personal growth. Your identity and your beliefs will lead you to success faster than learning new tactical skills. A lot of people get stuck in the doing rather than the being. But you can't do your way there unless you are being that person. My mentor, Alex Sharfin, says if you don't have the business you want, it's because you haven't become the person who can run it yet. And your business will only evolve as far as you do. So I recognize areas in my life where I had false money beliefs, I had insecurities, and that subconscious wiring also affected how I behaved and the decisions I made, and then maybe created scenarios where I sabotaged my success because I didn't believe that I could have it. So business growth is dependent on your personal growth. We could sit and talk all day about marketing strategies and how to grow your business, but if you're operating from a belief or a faulty wiring system that doesn't allow you to actually behave in the ways that are going to create the outcome, then you're never going to have what you say you want to have. Pay attention to what you say you want and what you believe about your ability to have it. Whenever I've looked at any resistance that I've faced in my business or any challenges that I faced, I always looked at myself as, where am I being the common denominator of this? If I'm constantly hitting a ceiling for my revenue and can't break past it no matter how hard I work, is it about what I'm doing to work hard or who I am being to create this outcome? So I would highly recommend, joining courses, joining coaching programs, but also some great therapy could be very helpful for you in growing in your business. I know that I shifted so much in the last few years, and I feel like once you open that door to personal development, your growth is going to come at exponential speeds. In 2019, I could look at that and see it as one of my best years on paper. I made my first $1 million. I was asked to speak at Funnel Hacking Live in front of an audience of 5,000 people. My business grew at accelerated speeds. However, that year I had to lay off 3 people on my team because I couldn't afford to pay them anymore, and had to make some pretty drastic decisions to save myself from bankruptcy. And I also went through a divorce, and a lot of other relationships around me fell apart as a result of that. So on paper and to the public, things might have looked really great, but inside, obviously, I was not living my best life. In 2020, I had another $1 million year, which looked the exact same on paper, but the difference is I had to sit through the rain to see the rainbow and actually be happy and fulfilled in who I was in creating that outcome. So the expensive lesson I learned there is that I could have the outcome of having a $1 million business, but how did I feel accomplishing it? The pathway in 2019 compared to the pathway to that in 2020 are completely unrecognizable. Was it an instant switch to get there? Absolutely not. There were hours of therapy and lots of painful conversations and, jumping across the border in the middle of a pandemic, and that was also a challenge. But it got me to where I am today, and as much as I can connect the dots backwards and be grateful for that, I also want to be grateful for any of the challenges that I'm experiencing today, knowing what it's qualifying me for in the future. That leads me into my second expensive lesson, is in staying in relationships that no longer serve you. And that includes friendships, business partnerships, and romantic relationships, and mentorships. There is an opportunity cost, and that's the cost of sacrificing your environment. The environment of the people around you that either are going to grow you or discourage you. I think at some point in every entrepreneur's journey, they're going to experience this, whether it's a friend that says, "You've changed," which the answer is usually, yes, thank you for noticing. But it can hurt sometimes because we recognize that the people that we love and that we wanted to be around our whole lives might not be willing to grow with us. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that we're wrong. It doesn't mean that we're right. Sometimes it just means that we have to love them from a distance if they're not willing to take that leap with us. And your personal development, your growth can unfortunately trigger and expose for them their weaknesses, that they can see that as encouragement to grow, or they can see that as a threat. to step out of their comfort zone. How they respond to that is not your responsibility. And again, I say this for multiple kinds of friendships. You might even have family members sometimes that say things with good intentions just because they want to protect you. I'm pretty sure every entrepreneur has had someone say, when are you going to get a real job? Or don't you want to, do this instead, something with more stability? And they say that as a reflection of their own insecurities, their own fears. But we can also set the example of what it's like to go out with courage and bravery and go after our goals and achieve them. Have you ever heard the phrase about how entrepreneurs are like the pioneers with arrows in their back? Sometimes it's the people closest to us that are the ones that have put them there. All of this isn't to say that if someone isn't on the same level of personal development with you, that you toss them to the side, leave them in the dust, and end that friendship, but to make decisions that are in your best interest for what's going to fuel your development. I love the phrase of you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that's something that I think of constantly, of the people that are surrounding me. Are they encouraging or are they derailing me? Earlier in 2020, I've been public about this, my marriage ended. And it was messy. You know what? I was actually at an event. I was on stage. I was on a panel, and someone came up to the mic and asked during a Q&A, "Did your marriage end because of your business?" It was kind of funny. The audience reacted like, "Oh, I can't believe you just asked that." And I thought about it for a moment, and I responded and said, honestly, yeah. I mean, we got married when I was a dental hygienist. That was the life that he signed up for. And then I took this direction in my personal development, in my growth. Entrepreneurship is a game of personal development. And this was the direction that I took. And he could have come with me, and I also could have maybe stayed where I was and stayed in that bubble of comfort zone security. But because of that, we kind of just got to a place where we wanted different things. And it can be as simple as that, but it can also be an opportunity cost and cost of sacrificing the direction that you're meant to go in your life. I've also had friendships that seemed to get a little weird as I became more successful, as I made more money, as I spoke on more stages, as my social media following got bigger. The way that they would communicate with me, or their openness or transparency or friendliness with me, totally changed. And that was a hard thing for me to understand, to think that, well, if I'm successful, that creates pain. Does that mean that I should sabotage my own success so that I don't have these situations with people that I love? Think of the opportunity cost there. Think about all the people, all the entrepreneurs that have inspired you, and how they wouldn't have made such a big impact in the world if they let that hold them back. Now, before I share with you the next expensive lesson, have you subscribed to this channel yet? Hit that red button to be notified of a new video every single time I week to help you grow your business. This next very expensive lesson has more to do with the tactical side of business. It was not having targets, KPIs, or knowing my numbers inside of the business. One of the biggest lessons I learned from my mentor, Alex Sharfin, is the difference between transactional management versus transformational leadership. It's so important for you as a leader, instead of being micromanaging with, hey, do this get done, do this get done, that you create an environment and a company culture where everyone can grow. And what that's going to require is a strategic system so that everyone in the team is following the vision that you set as the leader. This is also going to create lateral accountability instead of leadership from the top saying, hey, did you do this? What this looks like is Alex Sharfin has a system to teach you how to create what we call a waterfall. This is your yearly objectives, your 90-day targets, your 30-day goals, and your weekly commitments. That way, day by day, the entire team knows what they have to do to reach the upcoming targets and goals. This allows you as the leader to create mini leaders on your team to continue pushing the vision without you having to micromanage it. And having those targets and making it achievable is how our entire team feels like they can win. This isn't the kind of aim for the moon and if you miss, you'll land among the stars. That's called graceful losing. You want to give yourself and your team a reason to celebrate and win. So when we make those targets achievable so that we can hit them, and when we do, we celebrate and then we move the target further. So having KPIs and targets inside of your business shows every single person on the team the direction that we're going and how we can win, which incentivizes all of us in growing the business and moving forward together. I did not have this in my business for a very long time, and it felt like I personally was just puttering around my to-do list, or that I felt the desire to micromanage my team to make sure that they're doing all the right things and that they're helping in the business, or do I even know if they're working at all? When I didn't have this system in place, I was driving blind and flying by the seat of my pants. Those are some of the biggest and most expensive lessons that I learned in my business and personal development. Now, one of my superpowers and lessons that I'd love to share with you is how to build an evergreen lead generation machine and use that to sell high ticket on autopilot. If that's something that you would be interested in, I'd love to actually give you access to my highest performing, most revenue generating campaigns that you can plug and play into your business to maximize lead generation and sales. So click the link in the video description below to attend our Hell to High Ticket training. The first one I talk about, a lot of people get stuck in the doing rather than the being. You can't do your way. Hiccup. I'm gonna say that kind of jokingly instead of like, because it's not that I wasn't happy, I just didn't know. Transactional management. Have I been saying tactical all day? I think I have.
A few times.
That's funny. What did I say? Did I say pioneers in their bags? That's not right. So glad you're here to tell me that.
I was just gonna let it go.
Pioneers in their backs. Just get up there.